The views and opinions expressed do not necessarily represent those of Access Fort Wayne, the Allen County Public Library, or any other supporting group. Access Fort Wayne is a department of the Allen County Public Library. If you or anyone you know might be interested in making a television show, please call 260-421-1250.
Hi, welcome to the Kachmann Mind, Body, Spirit show. My spirit is already lifted because I played pickleball today. So I'm already feeling good. And today we'll speak about a very interesting subject, and you must agree, it's the World Wide Web, the internet, good and bad. You know, we're connected to it. Our kids are connected to it. People are walking in front of me, looking at the phone, totally unconscious. What's this all about? So we're going to discuss this in detail. So let's start out. Let's get on the road. Social media only exists because the invention of the World Wide Web. Yes. We used to write letters to each other, but now texting or social media, we're not using the phone that much, but texting each other. But then now the iPhone has arrived, and we are calling each other. So let's go back first to the history a little bit. So going back in history a little bit, to ease communication, research centers gave up with computers because they were using many computers on different networks to talk to each other, and this system became the internet. Yes, a form of communication and network. In 1989, the internet became easier to use. A British computer scientist, remember we're going through history a bit, named Blee, B-L-E-E, B. Lee invented the World Wide Web, the internet connection. He created the HTML, the coding system for web pages. Okay, that's in history. So it addresses the system that gives each web page a specific location or uniform place, a URL. Okay, so he was the inventor, Lee, B-Lee, L-E-E. So the browsers have been replaced by Google Chrome now, which I can find easily on my computer, and I use it frequently, Safari, Firefox, and others. The above allowed the internet to grow rapidly, and I can see the point. Man, I use it every day to connect to my internet sites. So around 2002, it started uploading our own content, the interactive pictures, video, and users' main goal was to interact with each other. It was people were connecting now on the internet. Earlier social networks were on blogs, okay? And I'll define those in a minute. Specific websites created. What's the definition of a blog, okay? A regular updated website, a web page run by an individual or small group that is written or conversational style. Anyone can create a blog through a website builder. They can build it for you, but that was the way, we used to do it. So blogs would have gives you information about food, decorating, finance, celebrity gossip, travel, etc. Those are blogs, and they were commonly used. Live Journal was one of them. Another one was blogging. It was a blogging website to keep in touch with friends. It was used for a number of years. So bloggers need a lot of skill, but it's not as common today. It's not needed today, but it still exists. The first social networks, one of the first ones was a site called 6 Degrees. Also, Friendster was the name of another one. And they had, in 1996, they had millions of members, okay? So social media evolved. MySpace became a very popular place for people to enter, and it was invented by Tom Anderson and Chris D. Wolf, okay? And the site, MySpace, sort of became a music center for music fans to promote music acts, also to connect friends and families and music groups. When people had more internet access, tech advanced quite quickly. MySpace created personal profile blogs, photos, songs, videos, played when other people visited their profiles. So it rapidly expanded the internet, and users started controlling it much easier, so they sent out information. They could kick out people they didn't want to look at it. MySpace was made social contact easier between people, so that expanded the internet. So you were able to put messages on there, your buddy list, discussion boards were there, comments you had about something. So MySpace brought self-expression onto the internet, socialization together, all in one place. So it spread pretty quickly. MySpace was eventually bought up by Robert Murdoch. Robert Murdoch, he is famous for his media empire. You may have heard of him. And he bought MySpace for $580 million. Yes. But by 2008, he expanded. MySpace had 1,010,000 at 110 million active users. Wow, it was spreading across the world. The users signed up. 30,000 people a day signed up to MySpace, yes, after Murdoch bought it. So it was expanding rapidly. Most in the U.S., but 200 other countries participated also. So it was really, MySpace was developing a worldwide culture, spreading worldwide. And then entered Facebook, and it was some redesign of MySpace, and it had a more generalized audience. Some specialized communities like LinkedIn, job seekers, church groups started joining. A Christian church was called My Church, and they used it for their church members, and which made sense. So in February 2004, Mark Zuckerberg got involved, and he got onto Facebook, and he expanded it onto colleges, and many students joined up, and he could spread information to students so they could learn things. Then high schools get involved, and then eventually the general public start using Facebook, like even I use it. So it was a popular social media, and the more popular ones really were YouTube. 73% of the people were using YouTube, 69%, Facebook, 37%, Instagram, LinkedIn, 27%, Snapchat, 24%, WhatsApp, 20%. So the advantage of a Facebook user would be if they didn't like someone responded to their message or pictures or made comments, they could block them. So that was an advantage. And but you could put on music, photographs, dancers. Instagram then was bought by Facebook, and it was easier to use, easy to connect with friends on Instagram. Put a picture, a short story, and I even use it today. It became very popular, easier to put a YouTube on there. And YouTube was invented around 2005, okay? And 2013, a company called Vine invented short video clips, only 6 seconds, but the other companies stole what they were doing, so Vine had to shut down in 2016. So the app Musical bought, and then Japan bought a site called Musical, and now they call it TikTok. And so Facebook, 51% of the users were age 13 to 17. It was down actually from 2015 when 71% were using it. But social media became extremely common, very common platform. And YouTube captured most of it, 85%, Instagram 72%, Reddit 7%. But people started evaluating the information. That a lot of information on the internet was inaccurate. What's accurate, what's inaccurate, and on page 20 of this book, A Social Media Revolution, an excellent book, incidentally, and on page 20 of this book, it lists the many different, because you need to evaluate the information. You look at the internet, information is coming across, but is it accurate? You don't know. So things you should follow, I may not read all of them to you, but you can look at this book and find the rest. Like you need to know who is the author and what are his or her credentials. Is it true or not? Is the information from a known, respected source? Can you contact the author? Does it have a phone number, a website? Can you confirm the information with another source? Is the information documented with cited resources? You see, you're trying to see, is this true or not? What level of accuracy is needed? Is the site fair and objective? Is the site designed for information or for recreational purposes? Does this website create a benefit in some way from the information presented? Yes, very interesting for you to know, is the information accurate? So why is social media so popular? Professor Michael Wench, W-E-N-C-H, evaluated it, said there's fascination with intimacy because it simulates a face-to-face communication. Mm-hmm. Well, he had an opinion yet. So seemingly without risk, that you can look at the information online and you're not, that person's not standing next to you, but is it true or not? You have to be worried about that. And people like it because it's more casual, so a little less emotional investment because the person is not in your room, and and on the internet, a person can have 1,000 friends and know only 2 or 3 real well. So that's why it spread. So what's the present situation on the internet? Some say people are addicted to their phones. Well, you see the point. I see some walking across the street right in front of me, not even looking up, just looking at the phone. And it looks like the mind is totally concentrated on the material, and some are so addicted. I've sat across them sitting at Starbucks having a cup of coffee, And I can see that they're essentially unconscious. They're only watching that, and if you say something, they don't even hear you. So you can see, which is getting more common. I see them walking down the street all the time, and I on the side, and before they know it, in the middle of the street, and they don't even know that they're there. Mm-hmm. So I drive slowly through the city. So some end up in front of my car. They don't look up. They're texting, talking. They're in another world. They're in another world. So we have to educate the people, the children, but adults are involved too. Many of these are actually adults. So they may be watching a movie. They may be watching a video. So keeping in contact with the world around you is pretty important. But they're using Instagram, Twitter, Tumblr. But it also has advantages to it. Remember I said good and bad. Kids have a way to connect with friends. Yes, some are so lonely, you have no one to talk to. And maybe they're living in an abusive home, for example. Maybe there's alcoholism in the house, for example, and they are keeping their sanity by connecting to the internet. And most connections to the internet are good. It's just that some are not. So it gives kids a way to connect to friends, yeah, and is needed. Self-expression is feedback, and they're talking to some of them. So, and some get positive feedback. It increases their talents, may increase their ability. Some learn to play a sport by watching a video like I do of pickleball players. And other things where I'm trying to learn something, I watch a video on the internet, and it's helping me. Some sites promote artwork, are helpful to internet students. You want to learn to paint better, you can find it in the internet. Instagram is most popular with teenagers, but people of all aging are using it. I'm using it at times. FOMO, F-O-M-O. Some people have fear of missing out of what's going on in the world. What are my friends doing? What's going on out there? I want some contact, so that's important. People choose what to put online, making new friends. The problem is, who are they connecting with? Sometimes they connect with the bad person, but the good is quite a bit larger than the bad. But the trouble is, the bad could get you killed. You don't know. So some romanticize on the internet and on the phone, and they're watching it and they're promoting suicide, that you kill yourself. And you can get pulled in so deeply you're not conscious anymore, and it can happen, and it has happened. And so becoming addicted. I've seen it at Starbucks, hours online across the street, not aware of their surroundings. They feel empty and depressed. And when you look at them, they look like you have dry eyes, empty, they don't smile. And some are using the internet at night. They don't go to sleep, they're looking at the internet. So they're getting brainwashed, some with good things, some with bad things. So what are the diagnostic criteria for addiction? Let's go through them a little bit. Are you addicted to the internet? Some people watching the show, might be. So they think a lot about the internet connection, okay? They need to be online with increasing amounts all the time. It's like an alcoholic has to drink more booze, or drugs. And they try to stop the connection, and they can't do it. Can't shut the phone or the computer down. Irritable when they try to control its use. Parents are saying, turn the phone off. I know some families where they allow the kids or themselves not to use the internet at certain times of the day. They just shut it down. Or some schools, you go to school and they take the phones away. Schools do that. So, and when people are staying longer and longer on the internet, you worry about addiction. And for example, and some start controlling it by taking the phone away, okay? Or not using it certain hours a day, or you can't use it while you're eating, or as soon as you're home, you can't just go look at the phone. You have to talk to your family. But some are obsessed, and they continue. But you know, we need to take a break. I didn't say don't use it, but to control it, and it's not easy. What are signs of digital addiction? When someone stays online while they're trying to sleep. You know, you go to sleep or your child goes to sleep, they're spending half the night looking at their phone or their computer. You wonder if they are addicted, okay? And another symptom would be substituting the internet for TV time. When they used to watch a ball game or certain shows, certain time of night, but they go upstairs to spend their time on the internet instead. You wonder if your child or loved one is addicted to the internet instinct. Sociologist Dana Boyd says fear of addiction is a bit exaggerated. The social media connection is blown out of proportion, she says. Adults, like myself, use social media to deal with stress. Adults, children too. Kids are using it because they lead a stressful life. Their family, their school, their job, their friends, they're isolated. Maybe they live in the country, have no connections with anybody, and they need the internet, okay? So stress of marriage, work, kids, finances, and adults needed to get relief, to get another world for a while. They may use it for music. I myself, for example, I'm taking a shower. I use the songs on the internet, turn it up loud while I'm taking a shower. Maybe I'll even start singing. So there's good aspects to it. I did it today. Yeah, downtown. I sang it today, and so a lot of people are not addicted. And then Boyd says they're trying to make sense of the world. They're learning things on the internet. So they affect your self-esteem. They compare themselves. You look online, they see pictures of themselves and send pictures out there, and they compare them to pictures of other friends. But some feel overwhelmed, pressured to present themselves a certain way. And 26% say social media made them feel worse. But a lot of them also made them feel better. And but they can watch dramas and videos anywhere. They can be in the back seat of a car while parents are driving. And I see it commonly, kids in the back seat looking at videos. At least they're not disturbing anyone, and probably less noise in the car. So there are advantages and disadvantages. Maybe they're playing it too loud and parents are having trouble driving the car. I sure as heck have seen that. So there's good, and bad parts to it. Some people get bullied on the internet, and you have to watch out for that. That's not that common. Social benefits are higher than getting bullied, but most kids say they have gotten bullied. So cyberbullying is a problem. 33% of people online have experienced it. 37%. Some websites fight it somehow to get him or her to kill themselves. Yeah. Some bullies get on there and try to convince the person that's watching them try to addict them to connect with them and try to get them to kill themselves. And it has been done. So that indeed is a danger. So posting something online should be done with care, because it may be there forever. Forever. So when you're trying to go to college or get a job, for example, or you're dating somebody new, they may look online and see what you have posted. Mm-hmm. And if it's not too nice, if it's pornography, for example, you may lose a person that might have married you, for example. They may say, I don't want to marry that kind of person, or give a job to this person, or accept a college application to this person. So you got to be very careful what you post online. It could be there the rest of your life. So they may see it in the future. Husband job may need to rebuild. You may to rebuild your reputation. So be very careful what you say or pictures you put online. Danger can be is that you have someone watching it who's not that ethical and starts see if they can pull you in. So they could be predators online, and they especially target kids 12 to 15 years of age, because their brain is not fully developed yet. They don't have know the correct things to say, for example, or to get offline, and they're looking for friends, and they may get sucked into a predator more likely. If that's happening to you, they will groom you. They will say nice things, bad things, and slowly tell you meet them somewhere. And especially they target 13 to 15-year-old girls that targeted to manipulate them, to have sex with them, for example. That happens online. They may send pictures, and most people online are friends. They're not predators, but there are predators there. It's a bit better on Twitter, Tumblr, and Reddit, sites that are a little more friendly. Some people are living in isolation, and they need these websites to feel socialized, to feel so they don't become depressed because they don't have friends. What if I've been targeted? It's rare, but it happens. Some clues that you're being targeted would be they ask personal information, your address, your phone number. They want to meet in person. They may want to meet in a private place. They cancel quickly if your parents want to look at the person or connect with them online, or before they meet. They speak sexually, comment on your appearance. And this book, again, can be used in great detail on page 51 in this book. It has a list of things you should look at. But what if you've been targeted? Things to look for. So what are clues the other person may be targeting you? They ask for personal information. They have a long list. I may not make it through all of it, but I gave you some clue. They may want to meet in person. They ask to meet you in a private place. And I mentioned about the parents already. They speak sexually. They tell you that you're mature for your age and say that age doesn't matter, for example. They seem to have some information about you. They threaten to hurt themselves if you stop talking to them. They become upset if you refuse to do something they ask you to do. They make you feel uncomfortable. Just a few more on there, things that you need to know. You can read that book or online to gather the information. The question you may ask, is it the website's responsibility? Should the website be regulating it better? Well, I think they have some responsibility, but it's very difficult for them to do this. Some do it a little bit, and it's difficult. Let's talk a little bit about risk and harm. Not only children, but the institution of childhood altogether. Headlines are full of warnings about pedophiles, the internet, suicide predominates, but there are also positive stories, okay? And the bad stories are exaggerated, so you may not connect to the internet at all because of the bad stories, when the good story actually dominates most of the videos and words that you see and posts that you see on the internet. So adults' ability to adjust the endemic fear that they're feeling for their children and it causes them to panic, and they worry about the child's safety and they're focused on the childhood, morality, and aggression that's focused on children. So, and some of the images are so powerful that the parents will try to be tougher at times than they need to be. To disconnect totally from the internet, it doesn't seem to be a good idea the way the world is operating today. So going online involves a risk, but what risks also face children online? You mentioned already bullying, pedophiles, and let's classify a little bit the risk to children. The advertising, they could be advertising things that are really not real, spams, hateful content, pornography, sexual content, racism sometimes is promoted online, self-harm, that you hurt yourself. 50% of the children have seen online pornography, 57%. 1/3 have seen unwanted sexual material, 1/3. 8% have gone to meet someone. Imagine how risky that is. Some countries online more than others, like Italy, less than 65%. The average of France and Germany, 65 to 85%. Above average are Denmark, Sweden, Poland, so UK. There are differences in countries. The novices, actually novices who've never been on, they have lower risk, tend to be younger, more likely working class children, especially girls with parents who lack confidence in internet themselves, but they have developed monitoring systems for their child. So individuals' skills vary a great deal in how to use the tools of the internet and ability to find content, understand privacy issues, security issues. A lot of people, children and adults, don't really know all that, okay? So learning and education is important. The internet can improve the educational quality of teaching. You can learn things off the internet, and they do. I mean, most schools use the internet today, and they use it in the schools. And for the parent to interact with the child and set down rules and to teach them how to use it is important. Today in Britain, just listen to this, every child uses the internet. and yes, and other online technology. It's embedded in every activity and fabric. They have it in their schools. Everything has been redesigned so that a child can deal with the internet, and they teach them the good and the bad. In 2008, UK British schools had to find a way to make access universal, or it's not fair. That's the point. Some people can't afford the phone or the computer and the internet at all. So they figure out a way that very poor families and kids would get the iPhone and learn to use it right. And they taught the skills of internet connectivity and the technology. They were taught that in the schools. So internet connective technology, ICT, is our third skill. It's our third skill, yes. And along with literacy and numeracy, knowing numbers. 2002, the internet was implanted in all schools in England. And I've even locally in the U.S., I went to school a few times just to listen to a class. I noticed a lot of it was taught with computers and iPhones, and I felt a little lost at times. I will admit. I sort of got onto it, but I'm not as good as the kids are. So 86% in England were connected by year 2000, but 2006, they were all connected. Yeah. So remember, it's just good and it's bad. And probably it's a good idea so that we teach them how to deal with the bad, avoid the bad. And in England, they became pretty good at it. It improved their performance in general, but did not improve their mathematics. So how do you find out who the aggressors are? Research does show that there's a relationship between violent content, ranging from violent music to aggressive online games. Mm-hmm. And they're much more accessible through digital technologies, through ICT, yes. They're much more available through internet connective technology. Mm-hmm. And I think they have seen that the populations, the children, adults are more aggressive because what they've been watching on the internet, and they feel that it has resulted in violent behavior of children, teens, and some adults. Isn't that interesting? Yeah, because there has been an uptick in violence, crime, shootings, and when TV came along, similar things were seen. In the last 50 years, when there was more violence on TV, it did have an impact on teenagers and adults because the pictures and violence, and look at these statistics. A study was done in 1992. The average child in the U.S. witnessed on TV 8,000 killings and 100,000 violent acts on TV by the time they finished elementary school. Can you imagine that? So what has it done to the brain's activity of the people watching it? The brains in children are not fully developed till they're 25 years old. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And 90% of the brain, though, is developed by age 5, fortunately. But in 1997, they did another study that teenagers watching TV had watched 32,000 murders and 40,000 attempted murders. You think this may affect our children and our adults when we have millions of guns in this country, readily accessible? Yeah. So governments, frankly, need to step up. But our politicians have failed us. They have failed us. Maybe 30% of the people own guns, around that. Maybe it's a little bit lower now. But if they're in the home and if they're not stored away, and you have children watching this on TV or the internet, there's risk involved here. And indeed, murder rate and violence has increased in children and adults. Mm-hmm. And there are certain, a lot of it is related to what they're watching as if it's nothing. You watch that many murders and that many killings, you may consider it to be average routine activity instead of the terrible thing that it is. And when you think of the people walking down the street who are addicted or mesmerized or not thinking, watching a violent movie, maybe they're carrying a gun and something unusual happens. They may just pull it out and bang. And that indeed does happen. In South Korea, they found some children became addicted to watching the internet, and there was a person that died after playing nonstop 86 hours on the internet, stopped playing a game, and then died. And another overweight 26-year-old in Northeast China died after playing video games for many hours over the Lunar New Year holiday, and then he died. And a 30-year-old died in South China playing continuously for 3 days. So it pulls you in, affects the person, so suicides and depression, violent acts occur. Between 2010 and 2015, the social lives of American teenagers moved largely onto smartphones, 2010 to 2015, with continuous access to social media, video games, and other internet activities. This great rewiring of childhood, they argue, is the single largest reason for the tidal wave of adolescent mental illness that began in the early 2010s. Interesting. The first generation of Americans who went through puberty with smartphones and the entire internet available to them in their hands became more anxious, depressed, self-harming, suicidal. Mm-hmm. We now call that Generation Z. Generation Z. In contrast to the millennial generation, which had largely finished puberty when the great rewiring began in 2010. So we have by 2010, we had the millennials before that, and Generation Z after that. The tidal wave of anxiety and depression increased. Self-harm hit girls harder than boys. It hit preteen girls hardest of all. Interesting. The mental health crisis also hit boys. Their rates of depression, anxiety have also increased a lot. Boys, technology and mental health are different than the girls a bit. For example, boys were more likely to use a gun to commit suicide. So if you have guns in the home, which I think doesn't make sense to me today because you have enough things that spray or shock that you could own, that you don't need a gun to protect yourself. But you think it's your right. But the most likely person to die from a gun in the home is a person in your home. I read those statistics, and it was shocking. And people will leave it laying around or even just having in the house. The kid may figure out how to get a hold of it and use them to kill his parents or a sibling or a neighbor. So think about it, evaluate it. So the suicide rates in the U.S. began to increase in 2008 for adolescent boys and girls, and even higher in the 2010s. So the internet, they think, is largely the cause of that. The increase was not limited to the U.S. It increased in the UK, Canada, Anglosphere countries, and also in 5 Nordic countries. Feelings of alienation to schools rose after 2012 across the Western world. No other theory, just careful, has been able to explain why rates of anxiety and depression surge among adolescents at the same time in many countries. They think it was the internet, mainly the things they were exposed to. They have no other way to explain it. What can we do about it? Let's talk about that a little bit. And what we're doing is providing information, incidentally. And you can, I'm just the beginning of your information. You can read this book that I have up here for you. But the other books, The Anxious Generation here is a book, The Anxious Generation. A very good book by Jonathan Holt. I read the whole thing, by H-A-I-D-T. Another book, and they're cheap on Amazon. You can buy them used cheaper, but you can get them in the library for free. Another one, Understanding the First Generation of Digital Natives by John Palfrey, and URS Gasser, GSR, another good book. Remember, I'm the beginning of your information. I'm not the end point, but I wanted you to think about it because they're in iPhones in everyone's house. Children and the Internet by Sonia Livingstone, also a very good book. So I am not the only information. I'm introducing this subject to you. You can watch this on YouTube, incidentally. In about 10 days, this will be on YouTube. You can watch it again. But if you'd like to read a little more, you can gather more information. Maybe you have a problem in the house. And so suicide rates in the U.S. have increased 2008 for adolescent boys and girls, and increase in 2010, as I already mentioned. And our kids, and part of the reason this occurred, let's look at the backstory in history. There's been a decline of play-based childhood. Mm-hmm. Interesting. What children need to do in childhood. I'll review this history with you. Our kids grow fast, then slow, then fast. Chimpanzees grow at a steady pace. We grow differently. We mammals grow differently. So human kids grow rapidly the first 2 years, slow 7 to 10 years, and then they have a spurt of rapid growth. A spurt during puberty becomes to a halt a few years later. A child's brain, remember I said before, 90% developed by age 5, okay? Our brains goes fully developed usually by age 25 or so. And the reason this happened in evolution is that we had to race to save our lives. We had to be smarter. We had to outrun the animals and to learn to survive. So free play is the important thing. All young mammals have the same job. Wire your brain up by playing vigorously and often. Young mammals want to play and come out socially, cognitively, and emotionally impaired when they are deprived of play. Mammals need that. So they'll go straight on the internet. They're not getting that, okay? In play, young mammals learn the skills they will need as adults, and they get feedback to improve, and they get better. Hide and seek, for example, physical and verbal play, teasing, gossiping, joking, are important to your child, okay? They develop the social skills needed in a democratic society to develop cooperation bonds so that they don't just fight each other, so they help each other. Free play, freely chosen, directed by the participants, undertaken for its own sake. Well, interesting. Isn't that interesting how important it is? Physical play outdoors with others, children, is the healthiest. Wow. Isn't that interesting? As a child, played in Central Park in New York City a great deal. I played baseball, tennis, took walks. Good for my mental development. Maybe that's why I'm 88 and weigh 133 pounds today. Tap dance for exercise, sing songs, whatever. Maybe that has something to do with it. I'm on no pills and have no illness. So I just want to be an example. Does that prove anything? I don't know, but I thought you might like to know. And so physical play keeps children the healthiest. A play-based childhood is important. So attunement, okay? Human children are wired to connect to tuning emotions and activities, to get in tone, to play the same music. Maybe they were lucky when they were in the uterus. The mother listened to a lot of music and sang happy songs instead of having a fight in the house or drinking alcohol or smoking cigarettes, because that will grow the genetic code of the infant in the uterus. So it's pretty darn important what the parents do. So the human childhood is very different from that any other animal. Children's brains grow to 90% by age 5. But they take a long time to configure things by 25. So is the child eating the right food? Is the child exercising properly? Is the child obese? Is the child breathing in smoke in the house where somebody is smoking? Or the parents are drinking alcohol and changed their genetic structure while they were still in the uterus? It's going to affect the child. So a slow growth childhood, they have cultural learning. Childhood is an apprenticeship for learning the skills needed for success in one's culture. Free play is needed for developing social skills like conflict resolution. A play-based childhood has been replaced by phone-based childhoods. Children and adolescents move their social lives and free time into the internet devices. And that's why our childhood diseases have increased. Violence, injuries. Children learn through play, connect, synchronize, take turns, enjoy attachment, bond pairs, groups, develop whole communities, especially children living in the country where they may be isolated, will use the internet, but the schools could make up for that. Mm-hmm. So the schools need to teach these things. So children may be starving for social connections. Yes. And what does the religion have to do with this? Well, I think it's important for children to have some spirituality. And I'm not picking any one religion over another. But I saw this in one of these books. I'll read it to you. As Buddha puts it, in this world, hate never yet dispelled hate. Hating somebody doesn't dispel hate. Only love dispels hate. This is the law. Ancient and inexhaustible. You too shall pass away. Knowing this, how can you quarrel? Love is the answer. Love is the answer. Well, I hope I taught you today about the good and the bad part of the internet. It's part of us now. It's part of our languages. We need to teach ourselves and our children how to use it correctly. It's here to stay, and it's going to get bigger. It's being used in political races, and we need to learn how to relate to it, to understand it, so that we ourselves can be happy and dancing. And like I do, I work out in a gym in the building I live in now. I moved downtown Fort Wayne, where I tap dance and sing and work out with weights, and it keeps me feeling good. I do the show because I love you, care about you. Feel free to talk to me. This will be on YouTube in 10 days, and maybe read some of these books. I'm just the beginning of your information. Thanks for listening. I sure enjoyed giving this talk to you. It will help your life. That really would make me feel good, and I did this because I love you. See you next time. Bye-bye.